I'm Luc Henry. I'm Swiss originally. I've been a researcher for many years, then a journalist, and eventually a policy advisor to the president of EPFL. I've been involved in several startup projects, and this one is, I think, the most exciting one. It's Limula. It's a startup based in Lausanne, Switzerland. What we offer is a tool to support the manufacturing of the most advanced cancer therapies. They're called cell and gene therapies. They're new, and for that reason, the production of these treatments hasn't been really cracked entirely, so we're trying to help the industry bring these treatments to the patients. So the very important difference between cell and gene therapies and traditional treatments is this personalized aspect. Cell and gene therapies are often made from patient's tissues. So you start from a cell or a few cells that are taken from the patient's body. They're taken into a process that is done ex vivo, so outside of the body, and eventually returned to the patient. And that highly personalized aspect makes it really hard to scale, right? I mean, if you want to make a ibuprofen, a drug, you can make tons of it and then distribute it across the world to the patients where they are. With cell and gene therapy, the personalization means that you cannot make multiple doses and then ship them to patients. You really need to have the patients there and then work on a procedure and have the patient there again for the injection. So to be honest, the idea is not from me. It's my CTO, the inventor of the technology that we're trying to commercialize. He was having conversations with a lot of clinicians. He was looking for a challenge, some problem that he could help solve. And talking to cell and gene therapy experts in Switzerland, he realized that they were still making these treatments manually for clinical trials. And so he tried to imagine a solution to automate this process. So he sat down in his garage. Limula is a true garage startup. He spent about a year reading about the process, understanding the process, and then designing a device that can handle that process automatically. He filed a patent, and when the patent was filed, he reached out to me and said, look, we should build a company. And so I helped him initially structure the project, find the right people to join our team, and by the time we had our first funding grant to do the research we needed to do, we were the company, I guess. So there are very different kinds and flavors of cell and gene therapies. We focus on a specific application, which is gene-edited cell therapies. And at the moment, the 6 products on market address leukemia, so a type of blood cancer. The reason for this is multiple. It's a relatively simple cancer, but it can be a very aggressive cancer. And this cell and gene therapy solution really works very well. Ultimately, people hope and are working very hard to try to solve solid cancer, so tumors that are not in the blood but in different organs. There are signs that it will work, but it goes way beyond that. So there are indications in autoimmune diseases, in diabetes, in fibrosis, and so I think ultimately, cell and gene therapies are universal treatments almost. It would probably be useful for neurodegenerative diseases. It's just the complexity of the disease makes it harder to develop a solution. So I guess, medicine started with the simplest problem to solve, and now we'll see more and more complexity coming up. That's an interesting remark because we are 3 co-founders, we're 3 chemists, and we all 3 have a PhD. But in reality, the people on the ground actually working on the solution are mechanical engineers and biologists, and none of them have a PhD. So I think that a PhD helps be creative, helps take risk, helps understand failure. Usually research is all about failure and sometimes success, which is very much the story of a startup. But the hands-on expertise of building, at least in our case, a hardware solution is not about research. It's really about hard skills, mechanical engineering skills, and so we hire people that don't have a PhD. We will hire more people with PhDs probably at the point where we need to do more biology, more complex science using our device. But at the moment, actually the people doing the work are not PhD researchers, and for the better. I mean, they are highly skilled in what they do, and this is what we need. Launching a company is all about the team, and I think what Jan did was to try and find the perfect team for making Limula a success. Not that I think I'm perfect, but I think altogether we are very complementary. So he's a maker, he's a technical person. I'm a network, policy and communication person. And Tom very much has a process background. He's been a management consultant, project manager. And so, you know, there are robust things that you need to build, like HR, like legal aspects, and Tom is taking care of this. There are technical aspects that you need to master, and Jan is really on top of things. And then there are all the, you know, communication and bringing other people on board, which is what I'm doing now. Pragmatically, you need two things. You need people and you need money. So we're very fortunate in Switzerland that there's a lot of support for innovation. And so we could now work for almost 3 years with support from the state, from different organizations. We're now at a point where we need to fundraise from investors. But I think starting by looking for all these opportunities to receive non-dilutive funding was really instrumental to go as far as where we are today. State of mind today, extremely excited. We started with a concept. We had some ideas. We were very convinced that we could bring value to this space, but we didn't have the confirmation, A, that the technology would work, and B, that the people would want to buy it. And that was about 3 years ago. So we spent the first year looking for funding to run a proof of concept. We collected really good data. So now we know the technology works, which is good. Then we also talked to a lot of people, potential users, people that are active in this space for 20 years. And the feedback is extremely positive as well. I mean, there's a clear need. No one we talk to tell us, well, I already have a solution to that problem, so I'm not interested in what you do. They're more telling us, is it ready? Can I use it tomorrow? Because I need it now. I cannot wait 2 years. And unfortunately, we have to tell them, well, you'll have to wait a little bit, which is really exciting. I mean, when you think about it, it pushes you forward, right? But at the same time, it's very much risk-based approach to life, where you don't know what's going to happen the next day or in 6 months. And initially, when you're a team of 3 and it's your thing, it's relatively easy to handle. I think I've been through multiple crises and reset of my career, so I know I can do it. When you start to have a team, and we're now 8 people, you're responsible for other people, and so I guess managing that risk, knowing that other people are taking the risk with you, is something that I struggled with a few months ago, and now I'm comfortable with it, but it takes some time. Future of the startup, well, growth. We want to have more people on board. We want to go faster, but not stupid growth, because I don't think in this space we should go too fast either. The field is very new. It's unclear where it's going, so the market is still moving extremely fast, but changing extremely fast as well. And so we want to make sure that we take the right approach, and so it will take a lot of thinking. But ultimately, we'd like to position ourselves as a leader in providing automation solution for that industry. So I think that there are things we've done really well. The one is to build a team that has complementary skills, people that want to work together. My co-founder always says, you need three things to do a successful startup. You need a technology that works, you need a team that works well together, and you need a market that needs that technology. What I would add is you need a very strong network of people who believe in what you do. And maybe something that I would do differently is to surround ourselves much earlier with senior people with a lot of experience in the market. I think it's easy to believe that because you have the best technology, it's going to be a success, or because you have the best team, it's going to be a success, or because the market is so obvious, it's going to be a success. But we tend to forget that the network plays a huge role in getting your solution in front of the right people, getting the right advice, getting access to the right people to help you financially, but also just with their network, connecting with potential customers, with anyone that can make it a success. So building the network and getting people excited on board very early on is super important. And we have a few of these profiles, but somehow I wish I'd built these relationships much stronger, much earlier. So I studied chemistry initially at EPFL. And I'm Swiss, I come from around, I love the school. I think Lausanne is a beautiful, exciting city, but at the time I was doing everything I could to leave and go somewhere else. So I studied in Sweden as well, and in the UK and in Germany. And eventually that gave me, I guess, some self-confidence that I could start from zero anywhere, and it wasn't such a big deal. It's just, getting out of your comfort zone is dangerous, difficult, scary. But at the end, if you survive multiple of these, then it gives you confidence that it's actually not so hard. It's just painful sometimes, but not so hard at the end. So my studies was mostly an opportunity to move different places, get different experience. I believe anything you learn, whether you use it or not, the process of learning is really important. We are now active in a field where, to be perfectly honest, I didn't know anything about 3 years ago. And so you need just to sit down and spend 6 months getting to understand what's happening, what's cutting edge, what's exciting, what's difficult, what problems these people are. Not everybody is very open about the problems they have, so you need to really dig deep and understand what problems you can solve. My PhD was also about that, right? It's not so much about what I did, but it's how you do it and what you learn. And in that sense, doing a PhD or graduating with a PhD doesn't tell much. I think it's more about the environment where you do your PhD, the kind of supervisors, the kind of colleagues you had, and you learn to surround yourself with the best. You learn to ask the right questions. So today, none of what I've done in my studies or in my PhD are really applicable to what I do, but I think the learning process is super useful. And after my PhD, I did more research, eventually changing fields several times, so I'm used to also learn very quickly to catch up with knowledge. And I moved into journalism, so I learned how to write, how to communicate, and then into policy, and then I understood, what is really strategic thinking, long-term, how do you build a network, how do you influence people, try to get them on board on ideas, so that they buy into what change you're trying to make. And I think all of this at the end is very useful in startup. It's not so much about the technology. Technology is only a fraction of success, I think. I think, and this is what brings this team together, and I think everybody on board is really, really passionate about the topic, because we aim to have an impact on patient lives, and very concretely, right? We help companies, but also clinical centers, produce treatments that can cure people. It's not just about, treatments. it's not about mitigating the symptoms of a disease. Cell and gene therapy can take you from being, about to die to, surviving and then living a normal life. And so, although we work in hardware, although we build a machine, this machine has the potential to make the life of many people much longer than it would be otherwise. And I think this is the drive that, again, as a non-specialist, brought me to say, okay, well, I'll quit my job and work on this because it's very important, right? And the fact that cell and gene therapy is done manually today, the fact that it's very expensive, it's just frustrating for so many people. I hear people tell me, my brother had leukemia, he signed up for these treatments, but because it's too expensive and too hard to make, he died waiting for a manufacturing slot, and other people go first. So, in a sense, I think what we do is truly meaningful, and I hope the public would recognize that. I suppose, I'm not the only one saying this, but I think we should talk about failure more. People should be more comfortable about failure. I'm very comfortable with it. It doesn't mean that, I'm not fighting, that I'm not struggling, that I'm not trying to succeed in everything I do. It's important that, A, you believe in what you do, because otherwise you lose the passion, you lose the energy. Building a startup is a struggle. You question your choices, you question your decision, you see all the sacrifice you make, and at the end, what for? In our case, hopefully it will be to help save people, so that's a very strong motivation. But then eventually there will be failures everywhere, right? And we tend to glorify success. I tend to brag about success, right? I mean, that's what people want to see. They want to see your startup succeed in raising funds, in, selling your first instruments, and so on and so on. I think we should be more open about what we fail, and because that helps people be comfortable with failure, to say it's okay, it happens, but also to find solutions and to discuss about potential solutions. And I think, a lot of startups fail for the same reasons, and so having solutions out there that people are aware of would make everybody's life easier. Company culture. How do you build a team with people that are like-minded, but at the same time don't all think like me, right? I mean, I don't want to be surrounded with people that don't challenge me or think exactly the same way. I think diversity in thinking. So what I'm trying to do is to build trust, to build transparency, to myself be very open to issues that we have, and then I think people realize, okay, I'm comfortable sharing the issues I have, which is very helpful. So my team is amazing. 3 co-founders, very different personalities. We think differently, we act differently. That's a lot of friction, but friction that we can solve by sitting together in a room and just, go through what we think should be changed in each other's behavior, but also as a group, how we function. The rest of the team also amazing. Half of them are engineers, half of them are biologists, 2 different cultures, people that think completely differently. And so you need to align these, and it's been a challenge, but it's an exciting challenge. So I think the question of the culture, especially when it's the first time you build a team, a startup team also, meaning you don't have a culture that is imposed by a larger organization, and at the end building a team is just about following the rules. We set our own rules, so we can decide for everything, and it's quite overwhelming sometimes because everything is possible, right? You could be very top-down, very authoritative, or you could be very collaborative. Which one is right? Which one will lead to success? Unclear. So it's an experience in itself. It's part of the innovation is how to build a company, not just how to build a product.